Welcome, everybody, to TPI, the Total Podcast Idiots Show, where we cover everything and anything related to Hardwood, the best college basketball game in the entire universe. And I'm talking about regular college basketball as well. I don't care what you guys have to say. I'm idiot number one, Robert, and that's idiot number two, Andrew, over there. Idiot Andrew, how are you feeling today?
Oh man, it's been a rough day today. My teams went winless, including losing to a previously winless team in our conference, and got no recruits. Haven't gotten a recruit in just a couple days. I signed a three-star on Friday or Saturday, but it was a disappointing day for me. What
Tough,
about you?
tough times, Andrew. Sounds like you might need to shake things a little bit up, huh?
Yeah, maybe. Well, with Dominican, my best player basically is hurt for the next game against the best team in the conference, so that's gonna be tough.
Rough times. We hate to hear it. With me, well, we got a recruit. That's nice. Our main target. So you always love to see that. A good day in terms of W's, setting the path right again with Santa Clara after a streak of horrible performances in what was a three-game losing streak and 4 out of 5. So all is right in the world, you know. A quick 70.1 win against the worst team in the conference, the cure for the common slump. So I mean,
Absolutely.
how can I really complain? You know, we gotta love it.
Yeah. And you landed a decent recruit today with Oswego, right?
I sure did. I sure
Nice.
did. Over
Nice.
Lincoln. I see you, Punska. So sorry. Not sorry. Anyways, all right. So why don't we move on to our
Well,
recap? What?
first off, actually, if in case you missed it, we did a great interview with Bridger of Huntington University last time. So if you haven't checked that out already, check it out. I'll post a link somewhere around here.
Yeah, see.
And I just wanted to, highlight that because it was a great interview, wasn't it?
It was great. Yes. Andrew's clearly the professional of this podcast. I'm just the guy that records and does notes. So yeah, that's why he's good.
I, you helped me out a lot too. Don't worry.
What can I say? All right, now moving on to D1, we'll do some good recap of the best divisions in the entire game. Do you want to kick us off?
Mhm. Yeah. So first off, there are six undefeated teams left in D1, and again, that's encompassing four levels. From Legends 1-1 to LL4. So we got Clark, and then Lewis and Clark. Those are different. Then you got Sacred Heart. That's Fury's team. Stony Brook, one of the teams in the Discord as well. UTEP and Chaminade out there in Hawaii is still undefeated actually,
Woo!
and they're like RPI 81 though. So I
Yeah,
guess some of their wins aren't that strong in non-con, but they're still D1, so they're gonna get quality wins now, right?
yeah. Interestingly enough, Chaminade a TPI of 143.2. The rest of the teams are sitting around 155, 157. So,
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So what's our first team we're gonna talk about today?
well, first, I actually just wanted to bring up the fact that none of the undefeated teams left are from the Legends division.
Well, that just speaks to how tough it is, right?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, certainly you're playing the best teams week in, week out, but just something to bring up for sure. Something to highlight.
Definitely. Yeah, I mean, they're going to beat each other up. And, they'll kind of raise everyone in that conference, but it's just like the SEC in football, right? In college football.
Just means more.
Yeah.
Okay, so first we're gonna highlight Clark. So Clark is currently sitting at 18-0, obviously, because they're undefeated. We're highlighting the undefeated teams. They have an RPI of 665 and a strength of schedule of 554. So they're beating good teams, right? When your RPI is 665, you're really damn good. When your strength of schedule is 554, that's pretty strong. Um, but all five of their scorers, all five of their starters are in double-digit scoring. So
Oh,
you love to
oh,
see anytime what?
let me go to the stats here. Sorry.
Yeah, so you love to see anytime that like one of the best teams in the game is balanced, as you can see here, and the highest scoring player on the team is like 15.1 points per game. So that's not, it's not like they have one dude averaging 30 that's carrying the team or anything like that. But particularly what I want to highlight is they have really good size in the front court. So their starting small forward Levitt is 6'7", 6'7". So that's pretty tall for a small forward. Cook, their power forward is 6'9", and then Turk is 6'10 and a half. Their center. or starting center. Yeah.
I forgot how Cook can be spelled.
I
So
know, right? I saw it and I was like, Cook, whatever. I don't know.
yeah,
Sorry.
right.
But so obviously we said they're small forwards at 6'7". That's pretty good for a small forward, but he's only like a 9 speed. Jordan Levitt, he's only a 9 speed. He's got a 13 perimeter defense, but he has a 17 outside shot. So he's obviously like really talented offensively. He's probably too big and not fast enough to be a shooting guard. So it makes sense that small forward would be his spot. You can't play him at power forward really, not with a 17 outside shot, unless you're just the Phoenix Suns of like the early 2010s, or the 2000s, I should say. But yeah, 17 outside shot, 6'7", 220. That's pretty wild. And then his backup, Devin Foster, is a 156 SI redshirt sophomore. So anytime that's coming off your bench, I mean, that just shows how deep this team is. He still gets 25 minutes a game, so he's like a pseudo starter. But I mean, obviously, when you're really talented and deep like this, you're gonna do whatever you can to find minutes for all your best guys. So I'd say Clark's doing a pretty good job managing their roster, and I mean, obviously 18-0.
Yeah, it's interesting with Levitt and Foster being that duo at small forward because it looks like, on the surface they might look similar, but then you look at their ratings and there's quite a big difference, especially in defense. That's the trade-off there. And then speed, Foster has the advantage more. So yeah, that does lend a little bit of variety to the lineups that Clark can run out there, right?
Yeah, and so Foster's only started one game on the season, but I imagine if there's a matchup against someone who's super fast, he's gonna make that change, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, and that's where like the rich stay rich. It's really really fortunate to have that kind of guy that you can swap in and out per matchup.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So do you want to move on to the next team we want to talk about?
Yeah, so I'm going to talk about Lewis and Clark in LL2. This is Hayseed's team, the Pioneers in Portland. They're really strong. They've been pretty strong for a while, I know of. And the weird thing about Lewis and Clark is you see first right up top, Edgar Watt. He is 6'11", and you think, all right, he's the center, right? No, sir. He's the point guard.
What?
Yeah. And you look at these ratings: 13 in perimeter defense, 18 IQ, 16 passing, 15 handling. I mean, these are point guard ratings.
Sure, you wild.
Yeah. Yeah, 17 outside shooting, right? And this guy looks unstoppable in a lot of ways.
Wow.
I don't even know his actual stats this year. Let's look at what he's doing, right? 18 points a game, 8 assists a game, almost 2 steals. And then you look at that opponent field goal percentage and it's really low. And that makes sense because he's just so big, but he's, relatively fast. He can cover a lot of ground with this relatively good speed and that wingspan and obviously the height. Like he's just covering so much ground. These point guards who are 6'4", even, and that's a big point guard, can't shake him, right?
I
That's
mean,
tough.
a 7'4" wingspan with, yeah, you're getting locked up.
Yeah, and he's shooting 40% from three on 2.5, making 2.5 threes on 6 attempts a game. Wow. How do you game plan for that?
You don't. You
Yeah,
don't.
yeah, right.
I honestly
I don't know
like
if you can.
you can't unless you have a center that's got like a 15 speed or something. But I mean, you don't. That doesn't really exist. This is a matchup nightmare.
Yeah, maybe just try to run him off the court because speed and stamina, like they're good, they're fine, but maybe in a really high octane game, he might get more tired.
Yeah,
I really don't know.
and he's playing
He looks
31
on,
minutes a game.
yeah, he looks unbelievable.
Yeah, that's wild.
So that's where you start off with this team, and then you look at Duenas, and he is the backup point guard. As the second best player, a 4-star. I'm pretty sure he's the backup. I'll check that. Yeah, right. Look at that backup point guard, and then you just look down the whole of this roster. That top six, the shortest players join us at 6'7". Yeah,
Wow.
that's some serious size.
That's um that's some commitment to size right there.
Yeah. Yeah, so to break it down, Williams is the center and Galindo is the power forward, despite, these other two guys being 6'9" as well. And obviously the point guard being 6'11". He's the tallest player and he's at the most perimeter position. Um, and Owens, I believe they're just the shooting guard and small forward. So yeah, you got a lot of size here. And then you see the perimeter defense ratings, they make up for what you would think would be a weakness. It's not. And then the big guys have the interior defense. It's just the splits for the defense are perfect, despite that size. Um,
So,
yeah.
so this is interesting because I thought I was being original with Kingsville by trying to build an all really tall lineup that could actually fit their positions. But
hmm
Lewis and Clark has been doing it and been doing it better.
Yeah. Yeah. Obviously Hayseed's been playing a bit longer, so he's probably had time to develop this plan a lot more. But, here's the model, right? Or here's evidence that it can work.
Yeah.
Actually, so I made a mistake. Bruce Williams is not the starter way up here. It's actually Jeffrey Roach way down here in the
Oh,
lineup.
trying to
So
get
that's
his
an
redshirt freshman some minutes, huh?
yeah, that's an interesting decision though. I mean, I understand the size. That's a big deal, right? 7 feet is 7 feet. Like that's huge.
Yeah.
And everything that goes along with that. But then you look at the interior defense. That's a pretty big difference. 13 to versus 6. And this is again LL2. You got some good people, good teams, good players, tough big men in there, and I'm not sure if Roach is the answer there. Really.
I look at the rebounding split, 16-9.
Yeah, right. He must be giving up more than he should. I mean, I understand he's 250 pounds at the 7'6" wingspan and the 37-inch vertical. He should be good, but right now for Williams, I don't know. Next year, it makes sense because obviously Williams has graduated. Roach is, he'll be a redshirt sophomore, but I don't know if it's worth starting him over Williams now.
So
I mean, geez, 43-inch vertical.
43 and a half inch vertical.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, you know what, Lewis and Clark, I mean, hey, what Hayseed, right? Hayseed.
Hasty, yeah, yeah,
Props to you for setting up the model. When you can find a
yeah,
6'10" center with a 43-inch vertical, you're getting it done. You're getting it done.
yeah, yeah. I think he's maybe giving away some points though when he's going with Roach over Williams. That's all.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. I think that's a fair thing to say. Um,
Yeah. Although granted, Williams plays more minutes. It looks like so.
it looks like they're splitting starts too. Roach only has 7, Williams has 11.
Yeah, I believe I checked the recent starts. Oh, okay. I guess he alternates. This is a weird
So
situation.
it
That
might
makes sense.
it might be one of those things where against weaker opponents, he wants to get his redshirt freshman more starts and playing time.
Yeah.
Jeffrey Huff that Roach. What a legend.
It's incredible. Yeah, that
That's
makes sense.
incredible.
Playing against weaker opponents, perhaps. Yeah. I don't know who in the schedule has been weaker, in conference because this is LL2. I figure almost every team is strong, right?
That's just me postulating. I don't have any clue.
Yeah, yeah. But okay, so now it makes more sense then. All right.
That is, Hayseed, I'm gonna have to hit you up for tips.
Yeah, yeah. So you can see he's undefeated in conference. Well, he's undefeated overall. So that, yeah, leading it, and Chowan is good, and Chowan and Toledo is pretty good. This is a tough conference.
Okay,
So to be on top is saying something.
Lewis and Clark is 18 games in to a 40-game season, and they're at a point differential of plus 573.
Holy moly!
18 games in. I
Right?
thought it was
Yeah.
a
I
good
mean,
season. I thought it was a good season last year through 40 games when my point differential is plus 573.
Yeah.
That is wild.
I mean, we've seen point differentials of like 1,000, so this is on pace for more than that,
Yeah.
which is crazy because those teams that were at 1,000, we were like bowing to them,
And it's not like
right? And
it's
yeah,
not like
Lewis and
we
Clark, ooh.
it's not like we expect like a super slowdown because I mean he's at a 24.6 point differential in conference.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Eesh.
yeah. I believe that's better than pace, right? Because oh, maybe not.
It's not better than pace, no,
Math is
but
hard, you guys.
yeah, it's okay. We're not mathematics majors.
No, we're not. All right. But yeah, so Lewis and Clark looking pretty good. Looking pretty good.
Yeah.
All right. Who we got next, Rob?
So next up, do you want to talk about Sacred Heart?
Yeah,
One
sure.
of the most active presidents, I'd say, in the Discord, probably in the game.
Yeah, definitely. So Lewis and Clark, number three, and we've already done one and two. So we're gonna go to number four, obviously.
Yep, gonna
And
highlight
again, they're
Sacred Heart.
undefeated. And so this is Fury's team. Hopefully we don't jinx him. I know he's concerned about that.
Hopefully we do. No, I'm just kidding.
um, well, so they're well managed though, right? Because he has thought about this whole process a lot. And you'll notice right away, at least when you sort by SI, Demarcus Samuels, he's the star. Redshirt senior 4-star, 184 SI, 19 in range. Holy cow.
Yeah.
15 outside shot. I mean, 15 speed is solid. He can run for days. 16 handling. Just solid all around,
Oh
right?
yeah.
Solid all around shooting guard. And I'm not sure how many threes he hits per game. 3 threes a game. He hits almost 50% of his threes. Sheesh,
On
21 points a game.
110 attempts.
Two
So he's
steals.
54 for 110 on the season. That's not a
Wow.
small sample
Holy
size.
cow.
That's insane.
His effective field goal percentage is 66%. That's insane.
That
Wow.
wow.
I mean, he's a blue chip recruit, right? Number 89 coming in his class. But this is would you say he's exceeded expectations? I think so.
Yeah. I mean, a 4-star 13 pot. Obviously, with a 13 pot, you expect good SI growth, which we've seen. I mean, he had a 133 to 160 year.
27 points, yeah.
27. Yeah. So 20, 27, 14, 10. Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
that's the sort of growth that you would expect from a 4-star 13 pot. But I mean, back-to-back seasons of averaging over 20 points per game. He's really good.
Right.
I mean, there's not much else you can say.
Yeah. Yeah, I bet the rest of the conference is wishing this trend of no growth for the whole season continues, right?
Yeah, I bet they hope he capped out. But I mean,
Yeah.
even at his cap,
He's
he's
good enough.
yeah, exactly. He's laying people down. So
Yeah.
whew.
So then, you got these other two redshirt seniors and they're good, right? I think Ingrosso's coming off the bench, but it's Robertson that's the future star. He's just a redshirt sophomore. Another 4-star, 158, 15 in perimeter defense. He's 15 speed. He's got the point guard ratings, solid ones. He's okay in shooting. So he's kind of more like maybe a glue guy, but or just a really good glue point guard.
It's Rondo.
Yeah, right. Right. Rajon Rondo. Let's see if his wingspan matches up. 6'10. Holy cow. Yeah.
He's Rondo.
Sheesh.
He's literally
What a
Rondo.
point guard. That's really good. Yeah.
16 finishing,
But
okay outside shooting, really good point guard skills. That's Rajon Rondo in the game right there.
yeah. But the guy who I know Fury really loves is Brad Whittington, the center. 6'10, just really solid. 7'2 wingspan, 41-inch vertical. This rating right here, the 18 in interior scoring. I don't know if I've ever seen a number that high for interior scoring specifically.
It's pretty high, yeah. So
He looks pretty unstoppable inside.
he's second on the team in points per game at 15.3, but he's hitting 69% of his shots.
Whoa, wow.
So like give him the ball. He's only averaging 9.4 shot attempts per game. I think I'd be green lighting him. Interesting.
Well, I mean, when you have DeMarcus Samuels, I
This is true.
mean,
This is true.
can you really feed the ball elsewhere? But they got the inside out combo, so that's really tough.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
then, he's got 18 in rebounding, so he's a monster rebounder, 12 in interior defense. He's just really solid. Definitely very solid inside. For a
Yeah.
10 pot though.
Yep. It's interesting. You
that's
said
really good.
so he's a 12 interior defense. Yeah, okay. 12 interior defense. Yeah,
Yeah.
he's given up 47% from the field for his opponent field goal percentage. Which
Right.
is like what?
Isn't outstanding, I suppose.
Yeah, but it's not terrible.
Right. Well, I know Fury is very much into the field goal percentage of the player as opposed to the opponent's field goal percentage. And so I think it's what you said, 22% difference. I think you take that.
Yeah. That's a pretty fair point for sure.
All right. So that's Sacred Heart. Watch out for them.
One more note.
Definitely very strong. Yeah.
So we just gushed about Lewis and Clark's point differential, right? But Sacred Heart's point differential is plus 642 on the season.
And oh, wow. So even better.
They are at a point differential in their conference of plus 40.4.
Yeah, I see.
So
I see that.
If there's a team that's on pace to like just dominate their point differential over 40 game season by like 1,200 plus, it's Sacred Heart in a really good conference.
And this is not a weak team, Cal State East Bay won a national championship a few years ago, I think in D2. Cal State Dominguez Hills is really strong, I know. Hartford, this is Blackbeard's team. They're well managed. Geneseo, Florida A&M is strong. I mean, these are really good teams. Arizona, Colorado. I mean, these are people who have played the game for a long, long time.
Fury's going to love us after this episode.
Yeah, maybe we're just super jinxing.
Yeah, maybe he'll hate us.
All right. All right, who we got next?
So next we're going to go to, I always struggle pronouncing this.
I wouldn't know either.
Ursinus? The Ursinus Bears?
I think it's Ursinus, right?
Ursinus or Sinus?
Ursus. Well, maybe. I mean, Ursa, right, means bear in some language that I don't know.
Okay, all right. You know for sure that Ursa actually means bear in some random language?
Oh, it's like Latin or Greek.
Oh, okay. I thought you were pulling that out of nowhere. I'm not going to lie to you.
No, like Ursa Major, right? Ursa Major and Ursa Minor, the constellations.
Okay, moving on. Back to Hardwood.
All right. All right. So in Legends, right, this is the Ursinus Bears in Pennsylvania. You saw they're the #1 team in RPI now, replacing Florida State, who lost recently.
Yep. We jinxed them.
And sorry. And Ursinus is number 5 in the rankings. But Ursinus, you'll see, only has 2 losses, right? Their only losses are to Florida State and Mississippi.
Oh.
So I mean,
their only
that's
2 losses are to the best 2 teams in the top 25 poll. Okay.
Yeah. And then we take a look at their roster here. And again, President Rai Rai has done a great job. Rai, great name too.
Rai.
And they play very fast. They press a lot, and it makes sense when you look at these perimeter defense ratings, right? For Tucker, their point guard, who's 6'6", he's fast. He's got 13 in perimeter defense. Looks like a crazy good guy to press with, right? Long and fast.
Yep. And
then so I mentioned the great perimeter defense, Darren Daniels, Gary Peters. I mean, even Stanley Hall. I'm not even sure which guy comes off the bench. But then you take a look at inside, right? You always got to look inside with any team, because that's where the main quality is of how teams win, I'd say. And I'd say they're a little weak for a Legends team. They've got a trio of 6'9" bigs. You're going to want to focus on Ramirez, Adams, and Smith here. And Adams and Smith, I believe, are the starters. I need to check that. I always forget. No,
Ramirez,
yeah. I always mess up.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, sorry. Ramirez and Smith, right, are the starters, yeah?
Yep.
Okay. And, you know, 13 interior defense, 11 interior defense, 14 rebounding for Smith, but just 6 in rebounding for Ramirez. And yeah, he's got 14 strength, but Smith has only got 10 in strength. So I don't know. They're just not complete. For Legends, I would hope they would be complete, especially for a redshirt junior and a redshirt senior. Adams, he's still got, you know, a couple years to really improve, but you can see his strength isn't that great. Neither is his interior defense or his rebounding for, you know, being in Legends. So, you know, while the SIs look decent, I'd say they're a little low for Legends, perhaps. And then when you look at the big man relevant uh, stats, they're also not that great. I mean, interior scoring, they're good, and outside shooting, they're okay. But you just look at the interior defense and the rebounding, and I think it leaves you wanting more.
Yeah, so just taking a look at the team as a meta when you look at their statistics. So as a team, they're giving up 40.8% from the field on the season, which is obviously just that's a really good strong defensive profile. So you highlighted Ramirez, he's at 39.4% in opponent field goal percentage, while he's
Mm-hmm.
shooting 60% from the field. So that's a pretty stark difference. And then
Yeah.
Smith is at 43% opponent field goal percentage, but he's shooting 67. So even though they have some deficiencies, it looks like they might be accounting for him somewhat. Those are, fairly decent overall defensive numbers. But then again, like you said, they have really good perimeter guys. They press a lot. They have good defenders. Tucker and
Right.
Daniels giving up 37 and 39% opponent field goal percentages.
Yeah, yeah. And I wonder, you know, it does seem to be working, but I don't know if that's because of, I guess it can't be a weak schedule if they're number one in RPI. But, you know, if we look in conference, Smith, it's maybe about the same, I
Yeah,
guess.
yeah.
And Ramirez is even better. So, hey, maybe I don't know what I'm talking
Well,
about.
it's only 8 games in, so
Small sample size,
yeah,
potentially. Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
And even then, you know, it's not like Legends has, you know, yeah, they're the best teams, but it's the best historically or last year, basically, you know. And we know Oklahoma doesn't look that strong this year. They're 0-8, they're 8-10 overall. You
yeah.
know, Butler's bot, they might be falling off kind of soon. So, you know, maybe they're not completely the strongest, is what I would say.
So Urson has beat Oklahoma by what is that? 47 and 15, 62 points.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so maybe there's some stats that are being buoyed from that. They obviously lost to Mississippi pretty big, 108-76. But then they have some good wins. Like they beat Huntington and Bridger 97-73. They beat Kansas State on the road. They beat Rochester at home. So, you know, they lost to the top two teams in the game, like we highlighted. You can't expect to win them all when you're in this Legends division. Obviously, with time, we'll see how it shakes out.
For sure. Yeah. Wow. Look at these attendance numbers. I know that's not important. I just we don't see attendance numbers that big in you know D3, so it's
Not even close.
interesting to see them here.
Not even close.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Who we got up next?
Well, so lastly for D1, you want to just highlight some of the hot teams, just like a quick
Yeah.
rapid fire kind of thing.
Yeah. Yeah. We'll just hit these rapid fire. So, you know, Azusa Pacific, we talked about them in depth earlier in that first episode, I think. You know, they've shot up the RPI rankings though. They were in the 80s last week because I guess their non-schedule didn't look that strong, but now they're at 17. So that's a huge jump, right? Because they've been hot. They're 17-1.
Yep. It also
So
helps
yeah,
when you win all
and
your
then
games for your RPI.
right,
Yeah.
yeah, of course, of course. And then in there's a lot of hot teams in LL4, and so you know you want to talk about some of them.
Yeah. So Cal State Fullerton currently sitting at 15-3. Looks like they just got a new owner this week. I think they had an owner, but he was absentee. They were still performing pretty well, even though they had an absentee owner. But the new owner, might have made some changes and stuff. So they're sitting atop their conference right now at again 15-3. LSU is currently sitting at 16-2. St. Mary's 15-3. Obviously, we've talked about St. Mary's and NAF previously. We went into pretty depth on them. Bradley sitting at 17-1, Coker at 16-2, Gonzaga 17-1, Stanford 16-2. So there's a lot of really good teams in LL4, and I'd say complete
Yeah.
teams.
And you mentioned CSUF has a new manager in Lubins, but he's not like brand new. He didn't just join the game. He had jumped from another team. And same with Stanford. Their president Blaster, he was at UCSB at first, and then apparently after listening to our show last week, when he heard Stanford was becoming available, he jumped over to Stanford.
Yep.
So that's always interesting to hear. So again, these are not completely brand new people. They kind of know what they're doing, but they're still learning the game. They're not super experienced. So
Blaster knows what he's doing. He's
there's
been
going to
around
be a
since
learning curve.
Blaster's been around since March 9th, 2018.
But he had a gap. Right? Didn't he?
He must have.
He stopped playing in like the 2012 season, and then joined back in 2015, I think.
Okay, you know better than I do.
And then I wanted to talk about, Coker. We were in a conference. Were you ever in the conference with them? I was.
I was not. No, not with Coker.
Oh, okay. They left right when you joined with Santa Clara, I guess.
Yeah.
So War Machine, he's. This is the team that I always didn't understand their lineup decisions, right? This is the team that was like redshirting their top 2 guys at times, and then would like bust them out against me specifically in the playoffs.
I remember very, very well.
And then the other thing to note here is that there's a lot of pairs of these hot teams that we just mentioned. So LSU and Stanford are in the same conference. Cal State Fullerton and St. Mary's are in the same conference, and so are Gonzaga and Coker, actually.
Yep.
And Bradley even has Wake Forest, who's 15-3. So these teams are, they're going to fight each other, they're going to butt heads, but overall, they're going to probably raise the whole level of the conference, I'd say, right?
Yep.
So it'll be interesting. It'll just be interesting to see these battles too,
Yeah, I mean, 2 obviously really good teams sitting atop each of those conferences. So we'll see what happens. Should be fun to follow. Okay, so moving on. Do you want to talk a little bit about D2? I feel like we highlight a lot of the D1 teams, but there's some really good D2 teams out there.
For sure, yeah. And so while there were 6 undefeated teams in D1, there's only 1 remaining in D2, and that would be Bowling Green. In Bowling Green, they're obviously undefeated. Their RPI is only 573 though, and that's because their strength of schedule is only 431, which kind of weak, right? So we think there could be a stumbling point soon. It's possible, they've just beaten up on weak competition, right? We see them up here in the top of LL 5.14. And they've beaten up a lot of teams, not a lot of good teams necessarily. Their point differential, again, this is D2, so maybe we're not expecting higher ones, but only plus 146. They're only beating teams by an average of 18 points a game. You can see Southwestern, even though they have 3 losses, they're at plus 103, right? And it's not like their strength of schedule is that much better, but so we think there could be a trip up for Bowling Green soon. We all know teams can go through slumps. Players certainly can. So I don't know. I don't necessarily trust their record, right, Rob? Do you?
I
How
wouldn't
for real are they?
Yeah, so I wouldn't necessarily they're not on 40-0 watch, right? Like we expect. I would say anywhere between 3 to 5 losses on the season. Which would require them over the next 22 games to go 18-4 or 17-5.
Yeah,
but
which would be a fantastic year still.
Yeah, that's completely realistic. But also you have to look at their conference, and the conference doesn't look that strong overall. There's a lot of teams.
Sure.
There's a lot of teams that even though they have winning records in conference, they're pretty small point differentials, and then there's a lot of bad teams too.
Right.
So you never know. They could run the table.
That's fair. That's fair, yeah. I mean, right, Austin College and Trinity look pretty bad. Dominican Illinois doesn't look super strong either. Dubuque, though, they could surprise, I think.
I mean, so King, for example, is sitting at 5-3 in conference, and they're 5-13 on the season with a 562 SOS. So yeah, they had a tough strength of schedule, but
you got to show out, you got to put in the, got to get the results too,
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
From what I hear, it's about making shots.
It's all about making shots. It's a make or miss league. It's a make or
It's a
miss
make or
league.
miss league. Absolutely. Absolutely. All right. So that's just a little bit about Bowling Green. I don't know if we're going to really go into their roster too much, but um, maybe just highlight a few things. Don Downey and Stallings. So it looks like they have a good backcourt, provided these two guys are starting. I'm not exactly sure. They got a 4-star, presumably the center, Devin Brown. I'm not sure where Gary Garvey plays because I'm not sure who else is bigger on this team
Yeah,
than
it looks like
Ricky
they're massively
Hendricks.
undersized.
Yeah, I mean Ricky Hendricks looks good, but then his SI, is 40 points lower than Garvey. So that's what whoever DL Warren has to decide. Is he going for size or skill, right?
Yeah.
All right, so let's move on to our other team, one of our other teams, Jacksonville
Yeah.
State.
So Jacksonville State, the Gamecocks, an absolutely strong name, but I didn't realize that there was two Gamecocks in the college
I didn't
ranks,
either.
but apparently there is. So I just realized that
Yeah,
right now.
yeah.
But Jacksonville State, 605 RPI, 528 strength of schedule. So those are pretty, decent numbers. 605 is not that strong, but it's still pretty decent.
I mean, it's
I
good for D2, right? I
Yeah,
mean, because they're like top 5 or something,
I think they're three. They're three. Yeah.
right?
So it's good for D2, right? But we just talked about some RPIs and D1 and stuff. They're like 665 and really strong. So, and of course, you can't really compare D2 to D1. That's, completely different league levels and stuff. Yeah. So Jacksonville State, again, 605 RPI, scoring 87.8 points per game in their conference, giving up 71.5. So in D2, a point differential of 16.3 is pretty good. Granted, maybe this conference isn't all that great, but it's not bad. It's still a good point differential. With them, the main thing I want to highlight is the fact that all 5 of their starters are in double figures in points per game. So you always love to see depth in terms of their scoring. As you can see here, 12.3 to 16.4 just shows that they're like, they don't have one superstar per se. They're spreading the ball really well. They're getting really good shot attempts for their guys. I mean, their lowest starters averaging 8.4 shots per game. That's pretty good. Their best starter, or one of their highest starters, averaging 14 shots per game, which is a little bit high considering he's only got 40% from the field. But still, the point stands that they like to spread the ball around. So they have some real good size on their front line in terms of their depth chart. So they play their 7-1 power forward, Grosso. So he's a 7-1 power forward, Grosso. Then they have Mead, who's a 6'10 and a half center. So those are really good size, right? Anytime you can have a 7'1" power forward, you think you're doing pretty well when it comes to inside size. But that 7-footer also, right? That 7-footer Grosso also gives up. So he's only an 11 in interior defense, a 7 in strength, and an 8 in rebounding. So like, even though he has the requisite size to play the position, he doesn't necessarily have the skills yet, right? And so he's giving up 48.8% opponent field goal percentage to his opponents, which again is not terrible, but it's not great. With a guy that's 7'1", you hope he's giving up a little bit better than that. Victor Mead, the guy I highlighted at center, he's even worse, giving up 54.7 points opponent field goal percentage, which that's just bad, right? He's got an interior defensive rating of 5, so that's not the greatest. Yeah, an interior
Yikes.
defensive rating of 5. So he's got like a strength of 14, a rebounding 16. So that's kind of where that trade-off comes. Like you really want those rebounding numbers. He's grabbing 12.2 boards per game, but again, if you're like rebounding the ball, well, great, but your opponent isn't missing many shots. So if they're constantly scoring, that's a pretty big weakness. So I'd say with Jacksonville State, their weakness is inside. Even though they have the requisite size, you could probably pound the ball inside on them if you have some good bigs, and that might be a little bit of their weakness moving forward there.
It's interesting. I've noticed that they don't redshirt anybody.
They don't.
And they're also very aggressive at going after high quality players. One per class at least, one highly rated player. They got one 4-star junior, one 5-star sophomore, one 4-star freshman, and they just landed Caden Skinner.
Yeah, so a lot of the talk, right, about like league level 5 teams, league level 6 teams going after some of the highest rated recruits, and the game making it harder for them to do so. But Jacksonville State is still reaching high and landing high. I mean, he got Caden Skinner, a 15 potential 5-star player,
Right. Yeah.
as
Wow.
a league level 5
That's
team.
that's something.
So, I mean, I'd be
Wow.
curious to know how many points he spent to get Skinner, but maybe that's a
Yeah.
topic for another day.
Yeah. Well, you see, look, they're not on any underclassmen right now, so that's interesting. They're on another 4-star though, and they're high on him. So, ooh.
He might have like a really, really good class, right? If he lands at 4-star.
Yeah, he's got an 18 recruiting coach. That's maybe partially why. And I don't know what their assistants are because they haven't
Yeah.
the shown up yet
Yeah.
necessarily. But I mean, we can click. But
Yeah. Let's not
all
get way too
right.
much into it. But
Yeah.
yeah, Jacksonville State's a pretty good team. We'll have to follow them and see what happens.
Right. Yeah. Definitely. All right. So we're gonna talk about Eckerd next. And Eckerd, this is Ryhag's team, and I remember facing them in V6 last season until I promoted. No, I'm just kidding, Eckerd. But I know Eckerd was a tough team to face. I was very scared of them this season. If I was to stay in that conference, and you have to deal with them now with Oswego, I was going to be very scared of them. And it starts with Royce Stratton, right, Rob?
It really does. So, side note, real quick, they whooped my ass earlier this season in conference. They beat Flynn Oswego 94-67, and that's when I knew that Eckerd was going to be a problem. So
Yeah.
I have personal experience with Eckerd.
Yeah. Stratton, he was just a sophomore when I had to deal with him. Not nearly this good. I mean, he was good, but not nearly this good, right?
Yeah.
16 strength, 11 interior defense, which is solid. He's a 13 perimeter defense, which is kind of weird. So he can get out there on the perimeter and hold his own too on switches. 9 in rebounding, which isn't amazing, but when you're 6'10" and you can throw your weight around, 6'7", 6 wingspan.
Mm.
I mean, in 16th strength, he can push people around. So he's a tough guy to deal with inside. And you'd think he's the center, but he's not. He's the power forward because they also start Rudy Maldonado, who's 16 in strength with a 15 in interior defense and also 9 in rebounding. And you see these interior scoring and outside shooting ratings, and it just means they're very good inside, right? This is like Amari Stoudemire and Shaq in one lineup.
That's pretty high praise there, Andrew.
I mean, maybe Maldonado is not Shaq level, but like I think Stratton looks a bit like a Maury Stoudemire type of guy.
That's fair. I'm not taking away from that.
And then we talk about Micah Graham as the point guard, and he's that leader, I'd say, that steadying force for this team. He's a great shooter. You can see his outside shot. He's not a great 3-point shooter necessarily, but he's just very efficient with his shot at the free throw line, especially. And you can see 16 IQ, 14 passing, 17 in handling, 14 in speed. He can run all day with his 18 stamina. So it's just a constant that Ryhags and Eckerd can know that Mikey Graham, we know he's gonna be there. He's gonna produce, and that's nice to have. Definitely, he's a redshirt senior though, so it's his last year.
Yeah, so just a couple quick points to back up what you're saying. So he's hitting 31% from 3 on the season. That's not all that great, but he's hitting 97.5% from the free throw line.
Mm-hmm.
That's really high.
Yeah,
He's averaging 6.4 assists per game to 2.2 turnovers, so that's a pretty decent ratio. You're not too mad at that. Obviously, you'd like to keep the turnovers a little bit below 2, but again, you're not mad at that. So just a few stats to back up what you're saying.
for sure. Yeah. One interesting thing is that I would point out is their shooting guard decision. So Jackie Brown is the starter, and that makes sense, right, with his SI. But they've got a 5-star sophomore in Jason West here, who is faster than Jackie Brown. He's bigger than Jackie Brown, and he's a much better perimeter defender. So at first, I thought they should play Jason West. That was my initial thinking, but West is not as good at shooting. And I mean, it's important to have that shooting when you have these interior forces inside. in Stratton and Maldonado. Stretch the floor, give them space to work, right? So West wouldn't necessarily provide that. Instead, West is kind of like a do-it-all guy off the bench for the perimeter. He's got minutes at point guard and shooting guard and small forward. So I guess it kind of makes sense how they're using West. But, eventually he's going to be the starter somewhere. So it'll be interesting to see where they put him.
So
I guess point guard is likely.
Yeah, so I think that's what I was gonna say, right? So they do have Robbie Sharp backing up at point guard. So it's quite interesting, right? They have Graham,
Mm-hmm.
and then their backup point guards are Sharp and West, which we just highlighted as two small forwards, right? So one of those guys, I think he's probably counting on playing point guard moving forward in the future, unless he believes in, what's his name, Mateo Zapata. I don't know. Yeah.
That true freshman. Yeah, maybe.
Yeah. But then you'd think if he would be given that guy minutes throughout the season. So
right.
He's got it seems like he's got a roster crunch. Jackie Brown at shooting guard is only a sophomore.
Mm-hmm.
Sharp at small forward is only a junior. So he's got another 2 years with Jackie Brown to make those decisions, and another year after this with Sharp to try and find minutes for all his guys.
If I had to guess, it looks like Sharp would move to point guard to start next year, and then West would enter the starting lineup at small forward.
Yeah, I mean that seems like a pretty decent guess. Yeah.
Yeah, because then Zapata could come in as a redshirt sophomore once Sharp graduates. Okay, makes sense. I like it.
At the very least, you have to find minutes for your 5-star 13-pot Jason West.
That's what I'm
saying.
You
have to find a way to start him.
Yeah.
Like that's a luxury in this game.
I think so. But yeah, Eckerd looks good to potentially promote. So I don't know if I'll wish them good luck, because I want, my co-idiot Rob's team to do well. And, Eckerd's right in. They're in direct conflict of that. But, Eckerd looks strong. So.
Hey, we have to be honest on this podcast, okay? And like I said, Eckerd whooped my ass earlier in the season. So we'll get our revenge.
Yeah, so I'll just briefly go over the next team, and that's Marist. And mainly, I wanted to highlight someone, not Marist president, although Comradu, props to you, man. I mean, you've been playing for a while. Keep it up, man. The Red Foxes. But I wanted to highlight someone in the forums, Cough Daddy. He is writing like daily write-ups of every game in his conference, which is crazy to me. That's wild. And they're really good. So check those out. This is conference LL2 or LL 5.1. So Cough Daddy is the president of Shepherd, and Marist is really good for this in this conference, and so I wanted to talk about them a little bit too. But I wanted to highlight Shepherd's awesome writing abilities. So go over there and check it out, and check out his PRs because they're really funny too. But
he writes quality PRs.
Yeah, and I love Didier Lemoyne, the center there. But this is about Marist, and the guys to watch here are Destrade, the point guard. He's super fast. He can handle the ball and drive and make his own shot, with his 14 finishing. He's damn good. And then Greg Tillman, the center. That's always what you're going to look for. The point guard and the center, I'd say, is the two you go to first. And Tillman's a really good for LL5 interior defender and a damn good rebounder too. 15 strength as well. I mean, he's quite a rock down there, right? 7'6" wingspan.
Yep.
My goodness. Why can't we get these guys with 7'5" wingspans, Rob?
I was just thinking that we're highlighting all these beautiful centers with these like ridiculous wingspans and verticals, and it just makes me depressed that we don't.
I know, right? Jeez, man.
No excuse either, because now we're highlighting D2 teams, and so yeah.
Right. Come on, California, and we can't even say it's New York because Marist is in New York.
I have no words. I have no words.
Oh man, yeah. All right, and then we've highlighted a bunch of conferences already, but just to really hit on them some more. LL5, 10, 8, 3, and 6 look really good. Each of those conferences has 4 teams in the top 27 of RPI, which is so close to top 25. Let's go, Oswego. You're 26. What are you doing?
we're slacking is what we're doing.
So, we've talked about some of the leaders of in those conferences, Oswego and Santa Clara and Dominican, those are our teams. And then we just talked about Eckerd and Jacksonville State. We talked about Moorhead a little bit last week. We talked about Wisconsin early on. So those are like the best teams in some of those conferences. But otherwise, we kind of got to let these conferences sort themselves out because they're so packed together at the top. So to figure out who's the best, I don't know.
Yep. We're just gonna have to wait and see how it plays out.
Yeah, but a lot of those teams will be conference or will be tourney bound, national tournament bound, and so it's worth covering them eventually. But we gotta let it sort out a little.
Yeah, definitely.
All right, let's move on to D3 though.
Yeah, you want to move on to D3? Let's do it.
Yeah,
Who
yeah.
is the first team in D3 that you'd like to highlight?
Well, I'd like to say hello to Davidson here. They have shot up the rankings, it looks like, with their 17-1 record, 610 RPI, 492 SOS, which is like, not great. You see 558 for Tennessee Tech right above, but 492 is okay, to be honest. Like, yeah, it should be stronger, but you do what you can.
You can only beat the
They've
teams
they've
that are on
beat
your schedule.
who's exactly. So
Yeah.
this is new president Boating, but you'll see he hasn't logged in since registering. So I doubt he's long for staying at Davidson in this game, unfortunately. But they're still pretty good. Um, but to be honest, I don't know about their future. I'd say it doesn't look too great last this season. Yeah, we see the 158, 156 seniors, and their big Gilbert West is just a junior, so they'll have him. But 5 out of their top 6 are seniors, and then there's a huge drop off. I mean, there's still a huge drop off amongst their top guys. So, yeah, I don't know if, they may promote, they probably will, but I think they go right back down.
So not only that, but to mention, we just highlighted the fact that a president signed up and then became absentee pretty much same day. So you'd have to think
Mm-hmm.
that whatever recruiting race they're in right now, they're falling behind in some of their guys. Multiple guys
Yeah,
here.
and it looks like they're low on 3 guys, but they're losing in all of the battles,
Yeah.
and they're on no underclassmen. Yeah, that looks pretty rough.
Yeah. So like you said, this is a team that's going to go up, and then they might be like last in their conference, go right back down.
Yeah, maybe Zach Lowe can help analyze their team, though. Provide some good analysis there.
Inside joke. Inside joke.
All right, what's another team that we can look at in D3? Maybe a little more cheery of outlook.
Yeah. So let's talk about the Alabama A&M Bulldogs.
Oh boy, Alabama A&M.
Yeah. So the president of this team is Jediah Lex 311. Shout
I
out.
think Jedi, like the Star Wars thing.
Jedi Alex.
Jedi.
Did I just say Jediah Lex and it's obviously Jedi Alex? I
Yes.
Yep, I don't know what to say, otherwise I'm an idiot. And this is why we'll
All right,
call the
Rob
total
is gonna go
podcast idiots.
crawl in a hole now.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
gonna jump off my balcony real quick. Be right back, guys. Jedi Alex, not Jedi Alex. You got some good things going on here. So
For sure.
they had a 14-game win streak that was broken actually this morning by Concordia Irvine. So they lost by 8.
Ooh. Let's go there first.
Yeah. So
Ooh.
and Concordia Irvine is fourth in the conference. So it's like that's a team that, like, if you take an L, you take an L. They look like they're pretty decent.
Yeah.
But still, a 14-game winning streak is nothing to scoff at. That was pretty nice. To start the season. But yeah, so
Yeah,
570. Yeah. So you'd love to see that, exactly. Yeah. So 576 RPI, 472 strength of schedule. So again, the strength of schedule is not exactly like super strong, but it's not exactly like super weak. So we'll see. But primarily their conference, if you look at their conference, it's pretty weak overall. So obviously there's a lot of bot teams, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 different bot teams. And two of them look like they have pretty decent teams, but some of them look pretty bad. And then like South Dakota Mines sitting down here at 0-8, for example. But if you look at their overall records and their point differentials, there's just some really nasty point differentials across the board here in their conference in terms of like overall schedule played. Yeah, so like there's only there's only 5 total positive point differentials for overall scheduling, and one of them is 0.2 or +2, I should say, not 0.2, +2. So this might just be like a weak conference that Alabama A&M can run away with. Jedi Alex, but like we said, you can only play who's on your schedule. So if he dominates, wins this conference, and gets a promotion, I'm sure you'd be happy with that.
Yeah, this is our old stomping grounds because I recognize so many of these teams.
I really recognize a lot of these teams. And like we said, we called out Pittsburgh Johnstown not too long ago because we were really puzzled by what that president was doing. But they're not last. They are not last.
Yeah, seriously, that's crazy.
I mean, they have an RPI of 0.393, but they're not last in conference. So I don't I don't know what you're doing, but keep it up, I guess.
Yeah.
But quickly, so just for Alabama A&M, so they're pretty good, but I would say their biggest weakness is probably rebounding. If you look at the stats on the team, quickly, I'll just highlight it. Nobody averages in terms of rebounding more than 8.5 a game. So you wouldn't say that's necessarily that bad because they have 2 guys at 8 and 8.5, but you like to see a double-digit rebounder when you look at like a center or power forward, somebody on the inside. And it makes sense because Russ Bieber is their starting power forward at 6'9", 225. He's got a 7'5" wingspan. Does Russ Bieber? 7'5" wingspan. So like he's a big boy, right? But the problem is he only has a 6 in rebounding and a 9 in strength. And this is sort of reinforcing some of the things that we talked about earlier on when we were talking about player builds and stuff, where, size isn't everything. You still have to have the requisite skills and things like that. I think he's a good example. In his eval, he has a negative rebounding comment, can never be a good rebounder. And so he's pretty capped out when it comes to his rebounding capabilities. The same could be said for Carl Palmer, who's their starting center. So he's 6'10". He also has the negative can never be a good rebounder comment and a rebounding rating of 7. He's also got that 7'5" wingspan. He's 255, so like he's got the requisite size, like we're talking about, a huge wingspan, but like in terms of rebounding, it's not enough to get it done. It's just not enough to get it done.
Yeah, that's a good point. Definitely.
Yeah, size isn't everything. You still got to be skilled. So size matters.
Right. Size matters. Yeah.
Size matters.
Yeah, so it'll be interesting to see if they struggle in the future against better bigs, bigger bigs even. I don't know how many are in that conference really because it's LL6, but should they promote, they're going to go up against a few more. It's not like LL5 is running crazy with really good bigs, but the quality definitely is higher, I'd say.
Well, it's also a situation too where maybe they dominate their conference but then struggle in the tourney.
Right, yeah, that's so totally true. There are a lot of good teams in LL6 that we've gone over, and they usually have a good big or two.
Yeah.
And so yeah, Alabama A&M, good luck. We'll see.
Yep.
All right. Another team I wanted to hit real quick is Washington State here, and I gotta find them. Oh, they're high up. They're number 4 in RPI with RPI of 585, but just with a strength of schedule 468. So it seems like we're going lower and lower in strength of schedules as we go along. They're number 4. They're 16-2. They are leading, I believe. Yeah, they're leading conference LL 6.4, and this is President Bogan's team, like Bogdanovich, I guess. He last logged in a few days ago. Hopefully, he logs back in and checks his team. Hopefully, he sees our podcast, and checks his team. That'd be good. And he's got three guys at 150 SI or higher. They're all seniors. It starts with John Phillips and Kerry Schmitz and Jesse Culver. You got your point guard, you got your center, although I think he's the power forward, Schmitz, and your small forward in Culver. And these guys, they got the high ratings. They're pretty good overall, in the right places relatively, at least for L6. Um, but there's a big drop off, right? The fourth best player is 140 and the fifth best player is 138, and they hardly play. Um, they're both backups, and 16 minutes game for Parody, and for McLean it's like 2.5 minutes per
Yeah,
game, and only
26
half the
minutes
games.
a game.
That's pretty bad. And then Hamby is a starting shooting guard, and like, what is Hamby good at? He's fast and can finish the ball if he can get there, but it doesn't. How does he get there?
So
So I don't know if he's good.
the stats bear that out. He's shooting 39% from the field, 27% from three, which is pretty bad, 61% from the line. That's not that great.
I mean, he's averaging 10 points a game. He's playing good defense, but I just feel like there could be better, you know?
Yeah. And 3.5 assists to 1.8 turnovers, that's not an ideal ratio.
Yeah, definitely not. And so, now I mentioned, who all the other positions, but who's starting at center? Well, you got your 7-footer here, Alexander Babich, and 7 feet, 7 feet in LL6. That's basically what it is. He's solid enough where he'll do damage. He's got a 13 interior scoring, which means he's pretty tough to guard inside, and he's got 11 rebounding and 8 in interior defense, which definitely not great, but I guess it's doable because he's doing okay, right? 42% opponent's field goal percentage, 8.1 rebounds per game, and you got your double digit guy with Schmitz up here. And Babich is scoring 13 points a game, 60% shooting. So, he's at least being a nice piece in the middle for this team when they have almost no one else.
Yeah, and I mean, Washington State is in the same conference as Wyoming, who we previously highlighted as a pretty good team.
Oh
And
wow, so maybe we missed
yeah,
which
exactly. That's what I was
team.
going to say. Washington State's sitting up top right now. Wyoming is, 5-3, 12-6 on the season. So maybe we highlighted the wrong team.
Interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll
Yeah.
see.
Well, it'll be a nice battle between them, hopefully, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Right. And then team that another team that we'll highlight real quick is St. Edwards, and this is Joaquin's team. And I'll just say, they're 15th in RPI. They're really short though, and they take advantage of that though with very aggressive shooters and driving to the basket. So they're very perimeter oriented, but they're not great inside, typical of LL6. But they're making it work, so we'll see how far they can go.
Yeah, 6'6" center.
Yeah,
Not much else to say about that.
yeah. All right, let's get to our one of our favorite sections here, recruiting news. And we just kind of just really hit the 5 stars. So lately that's been Nolan Hood to MIT, Gus Chastain to Huntington. So Bridger got one of his 5 stars.
Congrats.
Again, that podcast bump. Yeah, congrats.
Yeah, the podcast bump.
Josh
Exactly.
Campbell. Josh Campbell to Duke. So, Duke may not be in the upper echelon or the highest of the highs in Hardwood, but they're landing 5 stars just like in real life, at least. Barry Roy to Knox. I know Punska is really happy about that pickup. Reese Norman to CSU Pueblo. And, now that we're talking about, we're about, what, 2/5 into the season, right? 40% about. So some teams, we can talk about having really quality classes, and Georgia Tech, North Carolina, Wesleyan, and Arkansas Monticello, they each have 2 4 stars, which is as good as it has gotten. No one has a 4 and a 5 star. There's some teams with like a 5 star and a 3 star. But those are like the highest quality that I'd say, right? I mean, obviously there's teams with like 5 recruits, but they're all like 3 stars, and they may rank as the highest right now. but that's just like quantity over quality, really, right?
Yep. Fair to say.
So yeah, it looks like there's some good recruiting going on in the South and Southeast, wouldn't you say?
I'd say so. And I mean, if you'll allow me to give myself a shout out for winning a recruiting battle.
No.
Um, good old Kingsville, Texas A&M Kingsville Javelinas in LL6, battling for Rodney Ward, a highly sought after prospect from the state of Texas. And we got a W in recruiting, pulled it out over some LL1 teams. So there's a legend team in there that was battling for him. So, I mean, if I could just pat myself on the back for that one, that was a good recruiting W. It's recruiting
Yeah,
news, and
Rodney
that's
Ward looked
news.
really good.
Okay.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Rodney Ward looked really good. I agree. It's a big win for Kingsville for sure. For sure. Where are you going to play him?
He is going to be the starting center next season. So, and he'll probably shoot 13 to 14 shots a game. So
Taking over for Ben Latham, huh?
taking over Ben Latham, he saw that potential playing time, and he was like, "Who needs to go to Legends? I'm gonna go dominate LL6." Like, why would I need to play in Legends? I'm gonna start next season.
You hear that, Tough? He just didn't want the pressure of being in Legends. Right? He wasn't strong enough for you.
Okay, hold on. There's nothing to indicate that he didn't want that pressure. Be real. He wanted that smoke. He just wanted to be the star. That's all.
Okay, that's fair. Yeah. So, out in the
Up,
Southeast,
down.
I want to thank our correspondent, L. Martins, for giving us some breakdown on some guys out there in the Southeast, because that's not an area we know that well. But, four-star Milt Blankenship committing to Florida Southern, and they beat out Florida. So again, we talked about Florida a little bit. They're LL5, but that's the Florida Gators
Yep.
being beaten out by Florida Southern, who I think is like LL6 actually, but I think they're like the Moccasins or something. So yeah, Blankenship though, he projects as a shooting guard, and
Florida Southern is LL5.
oh, they're LL5. Okay,
But they are the
sorry,
Moccasins, yes.
sorry, Frankie Turtles, I believe is their
Yeah,
president.
that's him. Yeah, Frankie Turtles.
Yeah. But Blankenship looks like a solid shooting guard. I don't know if he'll play at point guard because his passing looks kind of poor, but somewhere in the backcourt at least. And then oddly, Montana State Billings went into the Southeast to pick up a 3-star in Pete Cole. And maybe he's a small forward, maybe he's a power forward. I don't know. It looks like he's kind of small. So it'll be interesting to see what they do. And then, oh man, one of our favorite teams, we'll probably talk about them in a little bit, but things are really heating up for 5-star junior Mike Sanders out there in the Southeast. And that's mainly because of Bethune Cookman. Oh man. I don't want to talk about them right now, but let's just say they have one scholarship player and they're LL6.
I mean, it's pretty obvious what they're doing there.
Yeah, right. So speaking of tankers, let's get into our tanking team of the week. And it's not Bethune Cookman.
They're next week.
Yeah.
So who's our tanking team of the week, Andrew? Please tell us.
Oh man, one of our favorites. I mean, we just said Bethune Cookman, one of our favorites, but this is like really one of our favorites. Cal State San Bernardino. President Terry. Terry. You have one scholarship player. Here, let's go take a look at your team here.
Let's browse them.
Cal State San Bernardino. He's active. He's been playing for a while, but you look at this roster, it is barren.
It's trash.
And his one scholarship player is true sophomore Victor Simon, who, he spurned Dominican's pursuits for Cal State San Bernardino.
I was gonna say, tell me all about that heartache.
So I can speak with a little bit of vitriol here, I think. And Simon is good. He's a 144 SI, 4-star, 12 pot. He's a 6'4" small forward. I would have put him at point guard, to be honest. But who else is there behind him? Like 4 juniors with SIs at 100 to 115, and the tallest is a 6'6" guy, and he's also got a 6'5" guy. But I'm just speechless, to be honest. That was me analyzing this team right there.
So they're LL5. They're 1-17 on the season. They're last in their conference.
Oh
It's
my
fair.
goodness, I didn't even talk about record. Oh my God.
It's fair to say they're going down to LL6. Um, and
Wow.
I hope they just don't have like a rash of good guys that sign and then promote like 3 straight seasons, because then it just don't tank. We don't like tankers.
Well, unfortunately, they did just sign a four-star JUCO sophomore Colby Stark. What he's number one player in JUCO this year,
Do
this
you believe
class.
so? Yep.
Well, so he did get another guy, but they're definitely going down to LL6.
Yeah.
So even if they promote out, they're not going to promote again to Division One. It's just a bad strategy. Yeah, you got 2 4 stars. Whoop-de-doo. Like, is
Tell me
that
how you really
all the
feel,
point?
Andrew.
Is that the whole point of this game? Hey, 4 star Bruce Stan spurned San Bernardino and came to Dominican, and he wasn't a big fan of this model, right?
No, he likes integrity of the game. He wants to go to a program that's doing it the right way, and San Bernardino's not. So get out of here, Coyotes.
Yeah, so I don't know. The future ain't looking too bright for the Cal State San Bernardino Coyotes, and hope I want the president to stay active. That's great. He's been so active. He hasn't logged in 4 days though. Maybe he just realized the situation is kind of dire there, and is giving up now. I don't know.
Again, it goes back to my idea of making teams have a certain amount of scholarship players required. And in this case, if that were to happen, then you have a bunch of guys who are not going to be good players on the teams that you want them to be on as scholarship pieces. And that's just going to be a requirement.
Yeah, right. I mean, and those would really help out this team, I think, because we just see how weak it is. I mean, yeah, wow, 23 aside. Yikes.
It
I,
always amazes me when any player has a 0 rating in anything. Their 2 worst players have 0 ratings in speed. They have 3 players on their team with a 0 rating in speed.
oh my gosh. And 2 more with just 1. I mean, that I kind of feel bad now
Like
for this roster.
like if you have a 0 rating in speed, does that mean that you only can walk? Like you were born without hamstrings? Like I'm very confused.
Right, yeah. Yeah, I mean, this guy, Ledesma, 0 in handling, a 0 in rebounding, a 0 in finishing. I don't know if he can make a layup, Rob.
I don't think there's anything he can do. But I mean, with a 7 in IQ, he's just there for the academics.
Hey, all right. Yeah, that's good. That's good. I was there for the academics in my high school career too.
All right. So do you want to move on to one of our favorite bits of the podcast, the bot
For
team of the
sure.
week?
The bot team of the week. All right. Should I start it off?
I think you should start it off. Tell us who your bot team of the week is.
All right. You can see I just typed it in. It's the Ithaca College Bombers, baby.
The Bombers.
Woo, in Ithaca, New York. And, New York, we've talked about being a really strong recruiting region and state. And I feel like I know a lot of people personally who went to Ithaca. So, not that any of them are going to play this game, but
That's random. Do
um,
you really?
yeah, I do. I do.
Okay.
And, but I know that they're very proud of going to Ithaca. And so maybe a alum finds this game and is like, wow, the Ithaca College Bombers are available. And that's my alma mater. I want to take them over. Maybe that's what someone says takes this team far. And, you could take them right now and be pretty good because you got 4 seniors or 5 seniors, but the top 4 are the guys. Decker and Andrews are the studs here. Super fast. Andrews looks like he can rebound and finish. Decker looks like he can shoot really well and, can drive a little bit. You got Derek Williams inside here with that interior defense and rebounding. He looks pretty good. Yeah, maybe a little lacking in strength. Again, this is LL6. We're not talking about like crazy monsters like we were in D1, right?
Yeah, I mean, bot team of the
But
week, we could
yeah,
highlight
Hans
Butler, but
Bergman, right? Yeah, Hans Bergman. He's the freshman, 12 pot though. You can build on that. Clay Michaels, maybe he's something who can shoot a little bit. Maybe not at power forward though. Yeah. So Ithaca, I'm just hoping maybe a person, an alum, finds interest in this game and takes them over. Um, you only got a junior, a sophomore, and a freshman on scholarship, and two decent walk-ons, honestly, and Jamie Gatlin and Pat Brown, both 6'6", and they have their strengths. So there's something to build on here. They only got a few scholarships, so we've talked about these tanking teams having this advantage in recruiting. Well, this team isn't tanking, and they're going to have a lot of scholarships available, so you can go after some quality players, maybe not 5 stars or 4 stars, but some quality players to really build the lineup. This team is about to hit rock bottom, so you don't have to feel bad about losing a ton because it's not your fault if you take it over. But you can take advantage of that upswing and feel good about you building them up from rock bottom, and that's what I love. So that's my bot team of the week, the Ithaca College Bombers.
fair enough. Time for me to move on to my bot team of the week. My bot team of the week, my bot team of the week is the Clemson Tigers. The Clemson Tigers. And you talk about rock bottom. You talk about a program that's hit rock bottom. So if we look at their history, I mean, it's just successive demotion after successive demotion after demotion. They've gone from LL2 down to LL6 in a span of 6 seasons. Some could argue it takes talent to do such things. That's just ugly. They're 0-18 on the season so far already this season. So not only are they like LL6, but they're the worst of LL6.
Yikes.
They have a point differential in conference of minus 32.5.
Oh, let's go there first.
Yeah, let's go there. They're scoring 45 points a game, but giving up 78. So
oh my God.
That's really ugly. Yeah. And it's even worse when you look at the overall, right? 49 points per game and 81 given up. So yeah,
Well, wait, why is this the bot team of the week? What is enticing about them?
hold the phone. Okay, hold the phone. Not only are they that bad, but their best overall player is a 121 SI sophomore. Okay. So nothing else to write home about. But as you can see, there's nothing redeeming about this team at all. Okay. There's not when I highlighted the bot team of the week this time, it was not to highlight them as an attractive option, but it's the Clemson Tigers, right? It's the Clemson Tigers. Somebody's got to restore this program and take them to prominence. It's the Clemson Tigers. We have all these name brand teams in the game, and you would expect them to be at a level of performance somewhat commiserate with their name, or you would expect to have a committed president for a team like the Clemson Tigers. But in this case, I guess we don't. And I kind of have them on win-list watch. I want to see if they go 0-40 because they are trash, to say the least. They're just not good. So we'll see if they go 0-40, but either way, somebody needs to take over this roster, take over this program, and just revamp it because this is unacceptable for the Clemson Tigers.
Yeah, I remember when Clemson football was bad, and look at them now, though, right? So
perfect
someone
example.
could do the same with this basketball team in Hardwood.
You could go from LL6 to LL1. We believe in you.
Yeah.
You just got to be able to stick it out. But somebody please
It's
take over the Clemson
while.
Tigers. Please take over the Clemson Tigers and do something decent with them. Because this is just an abomination.
Yeah, seriously.
Disgusting. So I think that's about going to wrap it up for the podcast this week. We went over a lot of teams between D1, D2, and D3. And yeah, I think it was a good overall week for us, a good overall week for the game. Some pretty big highlights and stuff happened. We're going to aim to bring you, we talked about the fact that we're going to aim to bring some midweek podcasts. There's going to be some guests in the future and things like that. We may not push that out every week. We do have busy schedules. But we are going to aim to do the weekend podcast every single week where we have the recap and talk about some teams.
For sure, yeah. Well, yeah, I'd say it's a good week. It was a good week, and we're looking forward to another good week. We're looking forward to another episode. And yeah, we'll see you guys later.
Yeah, and if you don't think that taking over a bad team is possible to lead them to success, the Browns are beating the Steelers 35-10 at halftime in the NFL playoffs. That's all I'm going to say. Miracles happen. Miracles happen.
Live update here, huh?
That's all I'm going to say. So, peace. See you, everybody.
See ya.
Catch you soon.